What if I told you that a single shoulder-fired weapon could change the entire course of a war? That one missile launcher, carried by a single soldier, could bring an entire armored column to a screeching halt? And what if I said this wasn't just a theory, it's happening right now in the war-torn landscapes of Ukraine? Welcome to the story of the FGM-148 Javelin, a weapon so devastatingly precise and deadly that it's rewriting the rules of modern armored warfare. Buckle up, because what you're about to read isn't just an article, it's a front-row seat to the battlefield innovations that are shaking the foundations of military doctrine worldwide. The phantom on the battlefield. When Russian tanks rolled across the Ukrainian border in early 2022, the world watched in shock as the vast armored columns surged forward. But what Russia didn't expect was an invisible enemy hidden in the hedgerows, city ruins, and winter forests: the Javelin. The FGM-148 Javelin, a top-attack, fire-and-forget missile system, allowed Ukrainian troops to engage tanks from concealed positions with surgical accuracy. These weren't just hit-and-run strikes. They were ambushes so devastating that Russian tank crews began to fear even the quietest countryside roads. It was asymmetric warfare in its most lethal form. The birth of a tank killer developed jointly by Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. The Javelin was born out of a need to defeat the most advanced armored threats. Its infrared-guided seeker locks onto a heat signature, allowing the operator to fire and immediately seek cover, a revolutionary step beyond the older wire-guided systems like the TOW. But it's the Javelin's top attack mode that makes it a nightmare for tank crews. The missile arcs upward and plunges down directly into the thinnest armor on a tank, the turret roof. The result? A fireball of destruction that often leads to a catastrophic ammunition cook-off. Psychological warfare by precision. Russian commanders quickly realized they weren't just fighting soldiers, they were fighting ghosts. Ukrainian infantry, armed with javelins, struck with precision and then vanished. This took a devastating psychological toll. Some Russian units reportedly abandoned intact tanks out of fear, choosing retreat over the risk of being turned into smoldering wreckage. The Javelin had become more than a weapon. It was a symbol of resistance, and every launch was a statement that no invader was safe. Strategy reimagined. The arrival of thousands of Javelins through Western aid didn't just bolster Ukraine's firepower, it reshaped their entire military strategy. Ukrainian defense lines were redesigned to take advantage of the Javelin's mobility and range. Infantry teams became mobile tank hunters, using civilian vehicles to reposition between strikes. Entire Russian battalion tactical groups were neutralized not by artillery or air strikes, but by foot soldiers with shoulder-fired missiles and the courage to use them. The numbers don't lie. In the early months of the war, independent military analysts began tracking Russian equipment losses, and the numbers were staggering. Footage of destroyed Russian T-72s, T-80s, and even the modern T-90s filled social media feeds daily. The hashtag #JavelinJustice trended globally as Ukraine's military shared helmet cam footage of successful hits. By mid-2022, hundreds of tanks had been confirmed destroyed or abandoned, many thanks to the deadly precision of the Javelin. Secrets beneath the surface. But how does the Javelin work its deadly magic so effectively? The answer lies in its tandem warhead. The missile's first charge detonates reactive armor, while the second penetrates the main armor underneath. Even Russian tanks equipped with advanced ERA, explosive reactive armor, systems stood little chance. And because the Javelin is man-portable, it can be deployed in urban environments, forests, and mountainous terrain, places where traditional anti-tank systems would be ineffective or too slow to respond. Battlefield innovation. In real-time, Ukrainian troops didn't just use the Javelins, they mastered them. Using drones for scouting, soldiers began coordinating multi-angle ambushes, targeting not just tanks but support vehicles, command units, and logistics hubs. The Javelin's role expanded beyond defense into a surgical offensive tool. It wasn't long before Western military planners started revisiting their own doctrines, wondering if the age of heavy armor was finally coming to a close. The high-stakes chessboard. As the war dragged on, Moscow began adapting, deploying anti-drone systems, increasing infantry support, and changing their armor formations. But every adaptation came with its own cost and weakness. The battlefield had become a massive chessboard, with every move met by a countermove. And Ukraine, once seen as the underdog, was now playing at Grandmaster level, thanks in no small part to a 22-pound weapon that could fit in a car trunk. The emotional cost of precision, yet for every victory, there is loss. Javelin teams operate close to the front lines, often under artillery fire. The cost of success is measured not just in destroyed tanks, but in lives. Many Ukrainian soldiers have become national heroes posthumously, remembered for holding the line with nothing but a launcher, a target, and unyielding resolve. Families watch helmet cam footage, proud and devastated. The weapon may be robotic in its accuracy, but the hands that guide it are all too human. A legacy written in fire now, as the world watches the shifting tides of this brutal war. One thing is clear: the Javelin is more than a weapon. It's a lesson in modern warfare, a case study in resilience, and a warning to any aggressor who underestimates the power of the determined and well-armed defender. The final irony? While Russia paraded its tanks for decades as symbols of power, it is the Javelin, quiet, small, and deadly, that may define this era of conflict. And while the war is far from over, one question lingers in the smoky aftermath of a dozen burning tanks. Has the age of heavy armor finally come to an end? Stay tuned, because the next generation of warfare is already here, and it's lighter, faster, and smarter than we ever imagined.